Parshas Ki Sisa is a parsha which is every single word, as every single word in the Torah, has something to teach us. For us specifically in our time, the koyach of tefillah. You know that HaKadosh Baruch Hu had his fury on Klal Yisrael for the Egel, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu really wanted us to be better. And Moshe Rabbeinu davened for our kapara. And the two of the words that Rav Chaim Kanievsky uses to highlight are Rachum v'Chanun. HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants to have Rachmanis on us. He wants to be kind to us and charitable to us and be gracious to us. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives us the opportunity to daven. So that's one aspect of the parsha which I want to discuss. It has a very fascinating story in Rav Chaim's Sefer, where Rebbetzin Kanievsky relates that when she was a little girl, about 10 years old, her father, of course, was Rav Yoshev Zatzal, and he would take 3 steps back after Shmona Esrei and would stand there, and he would be davening. And one time she asked him, what was he saying? So he said to her that before he finishes the Hirotzen at the end of Shmona Esrei, he says, Kapitel Kuf Chaf Aleph, which is Shir La Ma'alos, as we know, Esa Enai El Haharim. Now, why did he do that? His grandfather was a very, very famous, gigantic Goyen, who was also known as a Baal Kabbalah. His name was the Leshem. He's famous in his own right. There's no time for me to talk about it now, but look up the Leshem. It's worth reading about Rabbi Yosef's grandfather. And he had told him that there was a skula for certain things. So since Rabbi Yosef said, which is fascinating to hear from a Litvak, that he believed in segulos, he loved segulos, he said, I love all types of segulos. I'm quoting him now. So he started to say this practice, but he didn't know what it was for. He knew that his grandfather did it, did not know what it was for. Many years later, she says, her son-in-law, Reb Chanievsky's son-in-law, told her an interesting story. In Yeshiva Cheron, there was a group of 20 Bachrim who wanted to become Chassan, had been eligible to get married for many, many years. Not one of them had been able to find his shidduch. One day, they brought to their attention that there was an obscure sefer. It turns out it was from the Ramami Panu, which is where I heard about this years ago, so I knew this already, that by saying Kapitel Kuf Chaf Aleph at the Shmona Esrei is a zgula to find a shidduch. This, by the way, in the Ramami Panu, is called Maimar Chikra Din, Part 4, Chelek Yud Zayin, in case anybody wants to check me and look it up. They adopted this minhag, and within 2 months, every one of these 20 Bachrim found a shidduch. So this is an interesting thing. I happen to do it. I happen to say a few kapitlach of Tehillim after Shmona Esrei. I don't like telling people my minhagim because I don't want to make anybody feel they're obligated to do it. But it's interesting to hear from our older generations, which I now have become, what the minhagim are. So for many, many years, most recently I added the third one, I say 3 kapitlach of Tehillim. Rav Chaim has in his sefer that there is a minhag to say Kuf Lamed as well. So I say Kuf Chaf Aleph, Kuf Lamed, and also Mizmah L'Soida. I thank Hashem for all the goodness and kindness, even though I said it already in Shachris. But I added to my Shmona Esrei at the end. So that's one of my many minhagim, which people say I have too many minhagim, which I do, which I'm happy to do at the end of every Shmona Esrei. It makes me daven longer and later, and I have trouble keeping up to get Kedusha on time, but I managed to get it done. Now, on a completely separate topic, since this Shabbos of Ki Sisa is the Shabbos smack dab in the middle of Purim Shulash, so I want to refer back to a previous Svar Torah I said. I want to add a little knetch from Rav Yosef Chaim Sonnenfeld, which I thought you might find interesting. I had not recalled seeing this before. And as we all know, it says in this week's Parsha, 2 things, the Shema HaMishcha and the Ketores. In the Ketores, it says, V'atukach lecha b'samim roish mar dror. You should take the best, the nicest of the spices, and that is mar dror, pure mar. Mar is supposed to be the number one most beautiful spice that was used in the Ketores, and which is apparently known to those people at that time. As again, we have mentioned, Unkel's Taiches mar dror as Mira Dachya, which are almost identical letters as Mordechai. So this is that the tzaddikim are compared to the most beautiful spices, which is in the Gemara Megillah, Daf Yud Gimel Amud Aleph, and it's a choice of spice to show us that Mordechai was the number one Rosh Varishon of the men of the Anshe Knesset Agdoila. He was the Gadol Hador. Now what's fascinating is Rav Chaim adds another taich, which I haven't said to you before. And he's talking about the Ketores, and he says, where do you find Haman in all of these items? And guess what? The word for chelbana in the Ketores, that's the crummy spelling spice. What is the gematria for chelbana? Look it up. It's 95. Guess what the gematria for Haman is? 95. So that we know that there's a bitter, horrible, terrible spice which is thrown in to teach us that we have to have Rachmanis and everybody in Klal Yisrael. We certainly don't have to have Rachmanis for Haman. May all of Amalek be destroyed in the schus of our keeping this Yantav of Purim. May we see the immediate and quick downfall of all of the Amaleks in this world, including the Amalekites within each and every one of us. And in that schus, we should see the B'meher Yameinu, Mashiach Sekenu. Amen.